and the masters of the universe. I am Adam, Prince of Eternia and defender of the secrets of Castle Grayskull. This is Cringer, my fearless friend. Fabulous secret powers were revealed to me the day I held aloft my magic sword and said, "By the power of Grayskull, Cringer became the mighty Battle Cat, and I became He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. Only 3 others share this secret. Our friends, the Sorceress, Man-at-Arms, and Orko. Together, we defend Castle Grayskull from the evil forces of Skeletor.
In today's story, Zagraz had a problem. He lost his confidence in himself because he had once failed. Well, now, we all fail sometimes, but we should never be afraid to try again. And we should always keep believing in ourselves. As the old saying goes, if at first you don't succeed, try again. Until later, bye.
In today's story, you saw what happened when a stranger came to the palace. She turned out to be evil and dangerous. Of course, turning people into animals is only make-believe, but there is nothing make-believe about how dangerous some strangers can be in real life. Never accept any food or toys or money from a stranger. Don't even talk to them. And no matter what a stranger may say, never go away with them. Terrible things have happened to some kids who did. The smart thing is to just walk away, or in my case, just float away.
Being the most powerful man in the universe isn't all that makes He-Man such a great hero. Being strong is fine, but there's something even better. In today's story, He-Man used something even more powerful than his muscles to beat Skeletor. You know what it was? If you said his brain, you were right. And just like a muscle, your brain is something you can develop to give yourself great power.
I'd like to talk to you for just a moment about safety. When we go to the beach, there are lifeguards there to watch out for our safety. Crossing guards are in the street for the same reason, to help protect us. Now, things like that are fine, but we can't count on someone always being around to protect us. We should practice thinking of safety all the time. So don't take a chance. And that's true whether you're crossing a street or driving a car. Think safety.
In today's story, I went in search of my mother. I found her, but I also found something else. That the man who had cared for me since I was a baby, who loved me as he would his own daughter, was just as much my father as any parent could be. And so whether they are someone we were born to or whether they chose us to adopt, it doesn't matter. The ones who protect us and teach us and love us, they are the ones we call mother and father. And they deserve the same kind of love from us. Until next time.
You've all seen how Orko's magical tricks don't always go the way he planned. Sometimes they backfire on him. The same thing is true of practical jokes. Sometimes they don't go the way you planned, and you or someone else can get hurt. So be sure and think twice before playing a joke or a trick on anybody. Might not go the way you planned, and someone could wind up losing a finger or an arm or maybe even an eye. And no joke is worth that, is it? See you again soon.
As we've just seen, Skeletor went back into the past to make evil things happen. In reality, no one can go back into the past. That's only make-believe. But we can try to learn from the past, from things that have happened to us, and try to apply them toward being better people today. Remember, it's today that counts. So make it the best day possible. Until next time, this is He-Man wishing you good health and good luck.
In today's story, Skeletor tried to conquer Eternia by using animals in an evil way. Animals, like all living things, should be treated with kindness and respect. I hope that those of you who have a dog or cat or maybe even a hamster remember that. When we have a pet, we also have a responsibility because they depend on us. But you can be sure of one thing, however much we love them, they return that love and more. Well, time for me to disappear. Bye.
In today's story, Elena tried taking a magic potion which she thought would help her. Well, she found out there aren't any magic potions. And you know what? There aren't any magic drugs either. Anytime you take one from anybody but your parents or your doctor, you're taking a very big chance. You're gambling with your health, maybe even your life. Drugs don't make your problems go away. They just create more. In today's story, Skeletor was looking for a shortcut, a quick way to riches and power. You may know some people like that, always looking for the quick way to get ahead of everybody else. Well, it doesn't work that way. The people who succeed are the ones who work for what they want. So don't be fooled by those who say they have a sure thing. There's always a catch to it. Don't sell yourself short. The right way is the best way. Until later.
All of us make mistakes, and Una and Aaron made a big one. But when they realized what they had done, they didn't lie about it. They didn't try to cover it up. Instead, they admitted it. As He-Man said, admitting you're wrong takes courage. But when you do, you've taken the first big step toward making up for it.
Of course, if you're like me, you never make a mistake.
Or Co.
Well, I guess I better disappear. Oops, I think I made a mistake.
In today's story, you saw how the Widgets were fooled by Evil Lynn's disguise. They learned that bad things can be made to look good, and why we should always be careful and question everything that doesn't seem right. But it works both ways, and that's why the saying, "You can't judge a book by its cover," is so important. What it means is that appearances can be deceiving, and you shouldn't judge books or people by the way they look. It's what's inside that really counts. In today's story, I asked my father for permission to do something I wanted to do. When he didn't give it to me, I did it anyway. I was lucky. Nothing happened to me. But it could have. Now, maybe mothers and fathers aren't always right, but if they don't always let us do something we want to do, there's generally a pretty good reason. All in all, I think it's pretty nice to have someone who's always trying to do what's best for us and who loves us enough to say no, when it would be much easier to say yes. I love running at this time of the day.
Yeah, me too. Makes me feel close to nature.
The best part is that it's wonderful exercise.
It's the best. Of course, one should check with a doctor before doing any heavy exercise.
Right, and then start off just a little each day.
I sure wish we could tell that to everybody.
I think we just did.
We did?
Say for yourself.
Remember, be good to your body, and it'll be good to you.
Well said, He-Man. Now, I'll race you to the tree.
Okay. Today, I want to talk to you about courage. Now, courage not only means being brave in the face of danger, it also means having the strength to say no when your friends are trying to talk you into doing something you know is wrong. In short, courage means having principles and sticking to them, no matter what. See you all again soon.
Boy, the fruit on that tree looks good enough to eat, doesn't it? That's like a lot of things you might find around your house or in your neighborhood. But looks can fool you. Sometimes things that look or smell good can make you very sick. Remember, never taste or eat anything if you're not sure what it is. The best thing to do is to ask a grown-up who knows. Remember, it's better to be safe than sorry. Till next time!
Well, that Daimar was really quite a fellow, wasn't he? Orko had no idea just what he was getting into with his mixed-up magic spell, but he soon found out that he'd let something loose he couldn't handle. Now, we know that in real life there aren't any magic spells or demons, but there are problems. And just like Orko, sometimes you'll find you've got one that's too big for you to handle. At times like that, remember, there are a lot of people out there who really care about you. So talk to them. Telling them what's wrong is the first step toward making things right. Today's story was about something more precious, more valuable than gold or silver. It's called friendship. Orko learned that friendship can't be bought. Giving somebody a present may get that person to act as if he or she is your friend, but don't be fooled. A real friend is someone who likes you for yourself, not your presents. So don't try to buy friendship. Just be yourself and treat others with honesty and respect. And then you'll know the friends you make will be real ones.
In today's story, He-Man came to the aid of a planet whose natural resources were being wasted. Unfortunately, this same waste is happening now, and not on a distant planet, but right here on Earth. We must respect the plants and animals before they disappear, as some species already have. There's beauty all around us. Protect it before it's too late.
In today's story, Orko was faced with a very difficult decision. You know, when we're young, most of our decisions are made for us, but as we get older, well, we want to make more and more of them for ourselves, and that's the way it ought to be. But sometimes we have a real tough one, a real problem, and when that happens, it's a good idea to talk it over with someone else. Someone who really cares about you, like your mother or father, or maybe your best friend. Talking a problem out with someone else can be a great help. Well, Orko, Jeremy sure changed his ways.
Yeah, he was acting pretty rotten for a while. I think all he really wanted was for people to notice him. But what good does it do to be noticed if people don't like what they see?
That's right. The best way to get attention is not to look for it. By being polite and helpful, people will not only notice you, they'll like you too.
I'm going to do something helpful right now.
What's that?
I'm going to say goodbye.
In today's story, the beautiful voice of Solis kept the evil Yogg from making all sorts of bad things happen. Now, I can't promise that a song will make any magic for you, but I can promise that when you're feeling lonely or sad, and we all do sometimes, if you try singing a song or maybe whistling or maybe just smiling, you'll feel a lot better. Honest. Try it and see. And I'll be seeing you very soon. Bye now.
My Uncle Montauk taught me a lot about magic, but not just the regular kind. He taught me how to see the magic that's all around us. Like, for instance, there just has to be magic in anything as beautiful as a rainbow. And there's real magic in the way a mother takes care of her young. But as my uncle said, the most wonderful magic of all is just being alive. Bye now!
In today's adventure, Malik thought he could do whatever he wanted. But instead, he found that when you do something wrong, you may get away with it for a while, but sooner or later, you have to answer for it. Fortunately for him, Malik had friends who cared about him and came to his rescue. All of us make mistakes, but doing something wrong when you know it's wrong really doesn't make sense. Sooner or later, it catches up to you. Until next time, bye. Today was a day for surprises, and the biggest one of all was Skeletor and He-Man working together. By joining their powers, He-Man and Skeletor were able to stop Evil Seed. Working with others can sometimes be difficult, but if you listen to and respect the ideas of others, even when you don't agree with them, you'll find it's easier to get the job done. And who knows, you may even learn something. Close call today, and it all started when I was so anxious to do something that I didn't stop to think of the danger and wouldn't listen to anyone who tried to warn me.
Well, we parents may not always be right, but we try, because we love our children and we try to do what's best for them. And I'll tell you a secret. We really hate to say no to something they really want. So when we do, we usually have a pretty good reason. Try to remember that next time your mother or father says no to you.
Boy, I sure got myself in trouble today. And it all started when I fooled around with something I didn't really understand. When you're growing up, it's natural to be curious. But when you fool around with things you don't understand, it's downright dangerous. Things like electricity, pills, or berries in a bush. Play around with them and you're playing with trouble. Handle only the things you know are safe, and you'll be taking a big step toward avoiding accidents. Bye!
As you saw in today's story, People can change.
Right, Tila. Sibylline had always been an evil sorceress, but she was able to change her ways for the better. Maybe there's something about yourself that you don't like. A bad habit, maybe.
It's easy to say I can't change, but the truth is, you can change almost any behavior if you really want to.
And the first step is saying to yourself, I can.
Today's story was about love, but a very special kind. It was about the love a parent has for a child, and I bet that's the strongest kind of love there is, because for one thing, there's just about nothing that can change it, no matter what. Maybe like Adam's father, your parents find it a little difficult to say, I love you. Even so, you can be sure they do. Besides, let me ask you something. When was the last time you said, I love you, to them? Bye! Oh, boy, this time I really overdid it. I ate so much I didn't have any room left in my stomach for dinner. In fact, it may be days before I'm hungry again. It really doesn't make sense to eat too many sweets between meals. A little snack is fine, but don't overdo it, because if you do, you won't have room left for the 3 healthy meals, which you should have every day. Don't get carried away with sweets. Oh, I wish I hadn't.
I hope you enjoyed today's adventure. You know, television is not the only way to be entertained by an exciting story. There is another way. It's called reading. And one of the wonderful things about books is that they allow you to choose whatever kind of adventure you like. A trip with an astronaut, an adventure with the great detective Sherlock Holmes, a comedy, anything. You can find it in a book at your school or neighborhood library. Why, I'll bet there are even some good books right in your own home, just waiting to be read.
Hovar and Justin certainly had a narrow escape, didn't they? But when one is an explorer or a scientist like Hovar, wild animals are only one of the many dangers you face. And yet, throughout the course of history, there have been brave men and heroic women ready and eager to be the first to face the unknown, to challenge its dangers so that others might follow without fear. It is to these unsung heroes that we owe so much. See you soon with another exciting adventure.
Today we saw people fighting over the Star Child, but in the end, her power brought these people together. It might surprise you to know that all of us have a power like the Star Child's. You can't see it or touch it, but you can feel it. It's called love. When you care deeply about others, when you're kind and gentle, then you're using the power. And that's very special magic indeed. Until later, goodbye for now. Today, He-Man had to decide whether or not to chop down a tree. Now, the trees around you probably don't speak the way Skytree did. Or if they do, we haven't learned to hear them. Yet. But trees are living things. And when you respect a tree, you show that you care about all life. Life is a wonderful, precious gift. Learn to enjoy and respect it, and you'll be a happier, better person for it. Bye for now.
Today we met some people who had slept for over 200 years. Well, we don't need that much sleep, but it is important to get enough sleep. So here's some things to remember. Don't eat a lot before going to bed. A glass of milk or a piece of fruit makes a good bedtime snack. Try to go to bed at the same time every night and avoid any exercise or excitement before going to bed. Well, good night. Oh, good night, Cringer.
There are times when everybody dreams of becoming very rich or powerful, but what they don't think about are the problems and responsibilities that go with it. In today's story, He-Man was tested, and he proved his worth when he was able to resist the temptation to use his great power for any selfish gain. He knew that it's just as important to know when not to use force as it is to know when to use it.
In today's story, my pal Pody got herself into big trouble. She made a mistake and ran away, which only made things worse. Now, everyone makes mistakes, but running away is never the way to handle a problem. So when you make a mistake, admit it. That's the best way I know of to start making things right again. Until later, bye now.
It sure is nice to spend a day in the woods. Nature offers us much to enjoy. Unfortunately, some people do things which hurt the plant and animal life in the forest, like Danavis in today's story. By taking the mother rose egg, he upset the natural order of things. So the next time you're in a beautiful outdoor setting, enjoy yourself, but be sure to leave things just as you found them. That way the next person can enjoy them too.
A very long time ago, a wonderful document came into being. It was called the Magna Carta.
It was the first big step in recognizing that all people were created equal. But even though more laws have been passed to guarantee that, there are still those who try to keep others from being free.
Fortunately, Queen Samana realized in time that only by working together could her city be saved. And that's the way it should be, together. Right?
Right. Sometimes movies and television adventure series like this one make it seem as though shooting a gun, fighting, and taking chances are fun and exciting things to do. And what's more, the good guys never get hurt. But in real life, people do get hurt, even killed when they fight or use guns. Make-believe can be fun, and there's nothing wrong with imagining great adventures. But never forget that when it's the real thing, someone can get hurt. Even the good guys. Even you.
In today's story, I sure was busy. Boy, did that hurt. Ramming things may look like fun, but it really isn't. Trying to use your head the way I do is not only dangerous, it's dumb. I mean, you could get hurt badly. So listen to Rami, play safely, and when you use your head, use it the way it was meant to be used, to think. Until later, so long.
In today's adventure, Stanlin was trapped in an old dark building. He had to face many dangers, from demons to monsters. Now, in your world, there are no demons or monsters, but there's still danger in old dark places. Empty buildings or caves may seem exciting, but you could get badly hurt or trapped in places like that. So stay out of them, even if one of your friends dares you to go in. Taking a risk like that isn't brave, it's just dumb.
Manny, could you help me with a problem?
Sure, Orko.
I can never remember anything. How do actors learn their speeches?
By rehearsing, we practice saying them again and again. Well, that's what you have to do. If you're trying to remember something from school, say it to yourself over and over again. Rehearse it in your mind just like an actor.
Say goodbye, say goodbye, say goodbye.
What are you doing?
Oh, I'm trying to remember to say goodbye. Bye! It worked!
Orko certainly helped us out in today's adventure, and he learned a good lesson, too. He made a promise to the Ice Lord he thought he could break, but Adam showed him you shouldn't make a promise knowing you're not going to keep it. People judge you by many things: your appearance, your honesty, the way you act. Those things show your character. When you make a promise and don't keep it, it shows bad character. So always think before you speak and mean what you say. That way what you say will be respected. See you again soon.
I was really unhappy when I lost my magic. I was afraid that people wouldn't like me anymore because I couldn't make them laugh or give them magic presents. And then Adam told me something.
You don't have to amuse people or give them gifts to be loved. You're a special person, Orko.
And you know what? You're special. And you don't have to buy presents or be a clown to make people like you. That way you'll know that the friends you make are real friends. That they like you for yourself.
In today's story, I had a bad dream. You know, bad dreams or nightmares happen to everyone, and they can seem pretty real, but they aren't. They're no more real than any make-believe story or fairy tale. So don't be ashamed or afraid of telling anybody about your dream. It happens to all of us. And like so many other things, talking it over with your mother or your father or maybe even a good friend can make you feel a whole lot better. Bye for now and pleasant dreams.
Today we saw Professor Smollen find a great treasure. It wasn't gold or jewels, but something even more precious: knowledge. There are many places to find knowledge, and one of the easiest and best is a museum. Museums are storehouses of knowledge where you can see and learn all sorts of fascinating things. There's probably one close to you, so pay a visit. Remember, knowledge is power, and you can get the power.
Today, Orko was being chased by an evil robot. Orko was very frightened, but in the end, he overcame his fear and helped He-Man defeat the robot. All of us are frightened at one time or another, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. Fear is natural. It makes us aware of possible danger. Without fear, we'd wind up in all kinds of trouble. So never feel guilty because you're afraid. Listen to your fears. They'll help you stay out of trouble. Until later. Bye now.
There was a really wonderful moment in today's adventure story.
Bet I can guess what it was. It was when He-Man brought the water out of the lake.
No, that wasn't it.
Well then, it must have been when He-Man lifted the whole top of the mountain.
That was incredible, but that wasn't it either.
Well, I give up.
The most wonderful moment was when Thad realized he must face his own responsibilities. In that one tiny second, I saw a boy grow into a man.
Today we met Nepthu, a man who wanted to become a leader and became one. But Nepthu used his leadership for his own selfish glory, and in the end he got what he deserved. Being a good leader takes a lot of responsibility, but you must also be responsible when you follow a leader. Don't do something wrong or dangerous because someone tells you to. Think before you act. We can't all be leaders, but we can all choose what's right and wrong for ourselves.
In today's story, the Aquaticans were afraid to trust us because we looked different from them. Merman talked them into thinking we were their enemies, and it almost caused great harm. You should never judge a person by the way he looks, but rather by the way he behaves.
Because it's what's inside a person that really counts, right?
Orko, you're absolutely right.
I always am.
Today, Tila made a mistake, but instead of trying to correct it, she ran away. That was an even bigger mistake. Making mistakes is part of being human, but punishing yourself or quitting because of it is no way to make things better. The right thing to do is accept your error and try not to make that same mistake again. That's a lot smarter than running away. Until our next exciting adventure, goodbye for now.
In today's story, you saw what happened when Yucker sneezed and accidentally blew into the horn of evil. He was just playing around and didn't mean to do anything wrong, but the results were just as bad. Of course, there aren't any horns of evil in your house, but there are many things that can be just as dangerous. Many people have been hurt because they were careless and played with things like knives and matches and glasses and tools. So as He-Man always tells me, playing is fine, but play it safe.
Everybody likes to play games, but when they do, it's natural to try and win. But some people try so hard to win that they forget about safety. They get excited, lose their tempers, and then run the risk of hurting themselves or someone else by playing too rough. No game is worth an injury. When you play, don't be so anxious to win that you'll do something which you'll regret later on. Play it safe.
Today we met Garth, who to some people looked like a monster. But Garth wasn't a monster. He was a good person with a noble soul. And in the end, his beauty showed through. Real beauty comes from inside, which is why ugly people can sometimes be the most beautiful people to know, and why people who look beautiful sometimes act very ugly. Being beautiful on the outside is all right, but being beautiful on the inside, that's the best.
It's a good thing Orko got my sword back today, or Prince Adam might never have been seen again. The rock man who took my sword thought it made him a leader, but he was wrong. A sword or any other symbol doesn't make a person a good leader. What does is intelligence, respect for others, and an unselfish desire to do good. People are proud of a leader with those qualities, so if you develop them in yourself, you could become a good leader too. See you soon. Orko certainly had an exciting lesson in history today. Of course, chances are most of you won't have the same opportunity to meet any of those famous people who lived long ago, but even so, remember that just like you, they were very real. For the most part, the people we read about in history books led pretty exciting lives. And that's why, to me, history is like, well, it's like a great adventure story. And the best part is that it really happened. Well, see you soon. Swimming is fun and good for you, but going in the water can be very dangerous on your planet as well as mine. But there's no chance that you'll lose your memory as Orko did, but the threat of drowning is very real. That's why it's important to be aware of the rules of water safety. Don't play jokes in the water. Always be sure to swim in an area where an adult is watching you, and never swim alone. Go with a friend. Keep your swimming safe and live to swim another day.
I've been in a number of difficult situations, but none of them were tougher than trying to get along with evil Lynn. And yet, I found that if you make the best of a bad situation, you can come out a winner. So when things go wrong, instead of feeling sorry for yourself, try to work it out with a smile. You might surprise yourself when you see how well it works. Until next time.
Today, He-Man was forced to play a dangerous game by the Game Master. The Game Master bragged a lot about winning all the time, but he became angry when he lost and said it wasn't fair. Well, playing games can be a lot of fun, but boasting when you win or getting angry when you lose spoils the fun for everyone. And pretty soon, nobody will want to play with you. So take a tip from me. Be a good winner and a good loser. You'll enjoy your games more, and so will the people who play with you. Good luck and goodbye!
In today's episode, Xanthor committed a crime, but when he was given a chance to make up for it, he came through with flying colors. You know, it's important to give our friends a chance to make up for their mistakes. Of course, if they continue to do wrong, we might want to think about whether we really want them for a friend or not. But many wrongdoers do see the error of their ways. All they need is a second chance. Everybody deserves that.
In today's story, I was very angry at Baron Grodd. I was supposed to try and talk him out of hunting the unicorn, but I kept losing my temper. And when you lose your temper, you can't think clearly. We all get angry at times, but we should learn to control our tempers. It's better to stay cool and talk things out reasonably. Now, it's not always easy, but it's usually the best way to solve any problem. Until next time, bye. Today, Man-at-Arms and He-Man showed us the true meaning of friendship. When Rohad was sick, Man-at-Arms rushed to his side and did everything in his power to help. And He-Man risked his life to assist Man-at-Arms. How would you like to have a friend who will be there to take care of you when you're sick? Who will see you through bad times as well as good? Well, most of you have. They're your two best friends, your mother and your father.
Something about judging other people by the way they look. Just because Cambro looked different, I was frightened of him, and I thought he was some kind of monster. But he turned out to be kind and gentle and smart. I hope you'll try to remember not to judge people by the way they look, and not to make fun of them if they look different. People deserve to be judged on their words, and especially on their actions. From now on, I'm going to give them a chance. I hope you will too. Bye!
In today's story, I made the mistake of not trusting the people of Eternia just because they were different.
You can't judge a book by its cover means you can't tell from the outside what something is like on the inside. And that goes for books as well as people. Not liking a person because he or she is a different race or religion is wrong. People should be judged for themselves. Right, Katrina?
Right you are, Adam. Right you are.
So long.
In today's story, Orko found out how important it is to have patience.
I couldn't wait to go into the ancient temple, and I ended up causing a lot of trouble for me and everyone else.
I'm happy you learned your lesson. Oh, by the way, I guess I'll be seeing you at the big parade tomorrow.
Tomorrow? I gotta wait till then? Oh, why can't we have the parade today?
Orko.
Okay, I'll be patient, but it won't be easy.
See you next time.
Hope it's soon!
In today's story, my father accepted the responsibility for something which wasn't his fault. And he didn't stand around trying to blame someone else. Instead, he did something about making things right. And he succeeded, with a little help from He-Man. Now, we all make mistakes, and when we do, we shouldn't be afraid to admit them. And when they aren't our fault, well, don't waste precious time putting the blame elsewhere. Just do what you can to make things right. See y'all soon.
Today we met Lord Todd, who appeared to be a generous and good person, and Moak, who looked like a monster.
But then we found out that it was Todd who was the monster, and Moak who was kind and good.
You learned that real goodness comes from the inside.
Remember not to judge people simply by the way they look. It's what they're really like inside that counts. Bye for now. You all saw how Fisto changed from a bad guy who nobody liked into a real hero. At first, he caused nothing but trouble. In today's episode, Fisto learned that if you treat a person with respect and courtesy, chances are that's the way they'll treat you in return. If you mistreat somebody, you'll only earn their disrespect. Remember the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So long until next time.
Boy, the party is sure lots of fun. And just think, I could have missed out on it by running away. Sure, I was feeling sorry for myself, but running away doesn't solve anything. Everyone has problems now and then, and sometimes they seem pretty big. But every time you have a problem, you just can't keep running away. You gotta try to solve it. And how do you do that? Well, a good way is to ask someone for help. Help! Adam! Man-at-arms! Ranger! Oh, help!
You sure have your hands full.
Well, I have lots of reading to catch up on.
Good for you, Orko. You know, when you open a book, you're really opening a door to a wonderful world of entertainment and information.
Well, that's for sure. Now, I'm finding out all about science and dragons and sports, but mostly bodybuilding.
You have a book on bodybuilding?
No, but carrying all these books sure builds my body.
Orko.
Today, we learned about the importance of taking the responsibility to care about our fellow man. If you have a friend who needs help, who's having a difficult time, do whatever you can to help them out. Because as you saw in today's episode, no matter how big the problem, one person or one living creature can make a big difference. See you next time.
I sure enjoy jogging along this meadow.
So do I. It's too bad every place in Eternia can't stay as natural and untouched as this place is.
You're right. But progress does force changes. And sometimes those changes mean we have to take down trees in order to put up buildings.
That's why it's important to set aside some places to remain natural, where children can play and where we can all enjoy the wonders of nature.
Hi there. In today's story, we had a tough job to do. The only way we could do it was to get some help and work together. Now, there are all these jobs or problems that are too tough to handle alone. And when that happens, you should never be ashamed to admit you need help. Likewise, when someone asks you for help, give them a hand. Yours may not be as big as mine, but it'll still be appreciated. And if I could ever give you a hand, just let me know.
Well, how are things going at the weather station, Philip?
Well, it's lots of work and plenty of responsibility. But you know, part of growing up is learning how to be a responsible person. That's for sure. Whether a job is big or small, it's nice when you know that you're the kind of person people can depend upon to get the job done.
That's right, Tila. Being responsible means you can be depended upon. And that's a big step toward becoming a winner.
Hi! In our tale today, Snoop learned a very important lesson. He found out that when young people and older people work together, they can accomplish a great deal. You see, older people have experience that can help young people if they're willing to listen, and that's why you should always respect older people and pay attention to the advice they give you.
Well, Orko, for once you're right.
Aren't I always?
Until later.
Today, Stratos of Avion learned the true value of forgiveness. When someone does something we don't like, it can be hard to forgive. It's at times like these that we must remember everyone deserves a second chance. We all make mistakes, and when we do, it's nice to have a friend who will understand and give us another chance. Right, my friend?
Right!
See you next time. In today's story, we met some people who had a strange idea of fun. To amuse themselves, the Darmy wanted to make the dragons fight each other. Fortunately, they didn't succeed. There are no dragons in your world, but there are animals, and hurting or teasing an animal is no way to have fun. Treat your animals with kindness. You'll find that's a lot more fun, for you and for the animal. Until later.
Today you saw what happened when Rama and I got into an argument. It almost ruined our friendship.
I'm sure happy we're pals again.
When people lose their temper, they often say things they later regret. So if you get angry, be careful you don't say something you really don't mean. Something you'll be sorry about later.
I'm glad we made up, 'cause now we're better friends than ever. Right, Manny?
Right, Remy?
Today we saw a terrible conflict between two opposing forces, and in the end, the battle was not won by some powerful weapon, it was won by a single act of compassion. Compassion means caring for others, wanting to help them. Fighting is often not the way to settle a problem. It may prove who is stronger, but it doesn't prove who is right. And remember, sometimes it takes more courage not to fight. See you soon.
In our story today, we can all learn a valuable lesson. Saturnius and his underground people hated all those who lived above ground because of the actions of a few.
Well, that's like throwing away a barrel of good apples just because one happens to be bad.
Right. Every day we meet all kinds of people.
Most will be nice, some may be bad.
But it's unfair to judge an entire group by the actions of just a few.
Right. Till later, so long.
Tila learned two extremely important lessons today.
She learned it's just as important to play as it is to study and work.
But it's also important to take the time to learn the rules for playing safely.
Right, Duncan? Tila wandered too far away, and when she ran into trouble, there was no one around to help her or to go for help. So when you play away from family or friends, make sure someone knows where you are at all times. Courage and fear are two important instincts.
And we should pay attention to both.
Sometimes being afraid is just as important as being brave.
I guess I was a double fraidy cat.
How's that, Cringer?
'Cause I was afraid of being afraid.
I see. Well, how do you feel now?
Oh, much better. Now I'm just afraid of being brave.
Sometimes you just can't win. See you all next time.
Your Majesty, I want to thank you for coming to our rescue and for teaching me more about flying. You're most welcome, Tila. You'd be surprised at what we old-timers know. And we still remember what it's like to be young and think you've learned everything. Well, not everything. And speaking of learning, I was wondering if you would teach me to fly the rainbow. I'd be glad to, but only if you teach me to fly the sky sled. You've got a deal. In today's adventure story, Prince Esker made an important discovery. He found out that a good idea could come from many places, even from his sister. Know something? When you don't listen, you just might be cheating yourself out of a good idea. Besides, where does it say that big ideas have to come from big people? Give others a chance to share their ideas with you. I promise you'll be glad you did.
Is there something that frightens you? Are you afraid of water or high places? I used to be afraid of the dark when I was little. Some fears are good if they make you more careful. Fear of fire may save you from a burn. Fear of getting hurt may make you think twice before trying something. So fear is nothing to be concerned about. As a matter of fact, it's healthy. So don't worry. Only a fool fears nothing. Now I'm afraid it's time to go. Bye for now. Taking a dare doesn't prove you're brave or smart. It could prove you're pretty foolish, because most of the time it will get you or someone else in trouble. The smartest thing to do is not to take a dare, and not to worry about what people will think. If you only do what you think is right, you'll come out the winner. Don't learn the hard way, like the children in today's story. Until next time, so long.
Boy, am I glad today's adventure's over.
Why is that, Orko?
Because I was having a hard time keeping track of my lies. Each one led to another and another and another. It was exhausting.
Well, that sounds like a pretty valuable lesson.
Oh, yes, it is. I learned that lying is not only very dangerous to other people, but painful for me as well. I'll always tell the truth from now on.
Are you sure?
Positively.
Well, we'll all see you soon again, and that's no lie.
Today's story was about cooperation, working together to get a job done. Have you ever tried to lift something heavy? With help from a friend or two, the job becomes easier. If we offer to help someone with his or her job, that person might be willing to help us when we have a tough job to do. That's how people cooperate, by helping each other to get things done. Why, a job that's dull and boring can be fun with a friend's help. Give it a try. Until next time, bye-bye.
Because the widgets helped Jacob, he chose to stand beside them when they were in danger. Afterwards, he planned to leave them because he was so used to living alone. Only after he discovered that he was really needed by the widgets did Jacob agree to stay and be their mayor. It's important to let those around us know that we love and need them. Have you hugged your parents today?
In today's story, He-Man said what is important is what you're like inside. It's not really important whether you're bigger, smaller, taller, shorter, fat, or skinny. In other words, what's important is being the best person you can be. You know something? I'll bet there are a lot of people out there right now who'd like to be just like you.
Good for you, Squinch. You said it.
We all have the urge once in a while to play a joke on someone. But as Prankster learned today, jokes have a way of getting out of hand. When that happens, it can backfire. And then the joke isn't funny. It might be dangerous, and it might hurt someone. Maybe you. So next time you think about pulling a joke on someone, no matter how safe you think it is, think twice about it. Then, don't do it. Bye for now.
Today we learned something about the importance of listening to other people.
Orko,
Just a sec. Bokan's big mistake was listening to Evil Lynn without asking He-Man for his side of the story.
Orko.
Before we blame somebody for doing something, we should always find him and ask for his side of the story. That's important because sometimes we're wrong about who's to blame.
Orko.
Remember, listen to what other people have to say. What is it, Man-at-Arms?
Dinner's ready.
Oh!
In today's adventure, we saw what happens when we make up our minds about something before we have the facts. It's called jumping to conclusions, and anyone who does that will usually find that the conclusion is wrong. That's what happened to Malactha. If he had only... Well, hello, Holly. Is there something you want to say?
Yes. Don't jump to conclusions. Don't jump to conclusions.
That's good advice, and if anyone asks, just say a little bird told you. See you all soon.
In today's adventure, Orko was warned not to play with certain bottles. Well, Orko didn't listen, and he nearly caused a lot of trouble. There may be containers like this one in your home. This symbol is a warning of poison.
Say, that looks like Skeletor.
And just like Skeletor, it's bad news. It can make you very sick. So if you see this picture on a bottle or box, it means I'm dangerous. Don't touch me.
Be a safe person, not a sorry one.
I hope you enjoyed today's adventure story. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we did have a real time wheel? We could turn it back to the Stone Age and meet some real cave people. Or into the future where we could see some of the wondrous things yet to come. Well, we don't have a magic time wheel. Not yet anyway. But we do have some things just about as good. They're called books. Reading books can be your time wheel to just about any time or place you choose. Why don't you give them a try? You'll be glad you did.
Well, you know what I like best in today's story? Well, there were three things. The first was when the evil enchanters found out you can't do bad things without being punished for them. The second thing was when King Randor found his father. But what I liked best of all was Adam and his grandfather getting together. You know, grandfathers and grandmothers are very special people, and they give their grandchildren a very special kind of love. So if you're lucky enough to have a grandmother or a grandfather, or maybe even both, well, you're really specially lucky.
I shudder to think that I almost betrayed you, He-Man, in favor of Skeletor.
Well, but you made the right decision. That's what counts.
The thought of all those riches was awfully tempting. On second thought, I'd rather have your friendship, He-Man, Cringer. In fact, knowing you has made me the richest boy in the world.
And we're much richer for knowing you. Until later.
I thought this would be a lot easier. Oops.
Well, looks like you need some more practice, Orko.
I thought being a juggler in a circus would be easy.
If you really want to be a juggler, or anything else in life, you have to be willing to work at it. So when you find something that you really want to do, then do yourself a favor. Work at it. Really work at it. Spend enough time learning the necessary skills. And I promise you, you'll be surprised at how good you can really be. See you next time.
Bye!
So, children, what did you learn from this story?
Even though Luce is blind, he's just like the rest of us. Yeah, and because he learned to use his other senses, he helped He-Man.
That's right. Just because a person is blind or handicapped, that doesn't mean that they're helpless.
Yeah, they have feelings and want to do stuff like we do, too.
And who knows, you might learn as much from them as they do from you.
Today we learned there's no such thing as getting even. Even if someone does something to you and you get back at him.
And he gets back at you.
And you get back at him.
And he gets back at you.
And you get back at him again.
And he...
So you see, it never stops. No one is really getting even at all. The best thing to do is talk it over and start fresh. Now, you were going to say something?
See you next time.
We learned today that there are right ways and wrong ways of getting what you want. If someone has something you want, say a toy you'd like to play with, or maybe some candy or cake, don't just take it. That's stealing. And chances are you'll only bring out the anger in the other person. But if you ask rather than take, or if it's yours, offer to share, you'll get back more than you give. Like maybe even a new friend. Right, Orko? See you next time.
Sometimes when your parents punish you, you may think they don't love you. Well, that isn't true. They don't punish to be mean, but to teach you. They hope you'll remember the punishment and not do wrong in the future. If I didn't love Orko, I wouldn't care what he did.
I'm glad Man-at-Arms cares enough to correct me when I do wrong. How else am I going to learn? I know he loves me, even if he doesn't say it all the time.
Yeah, well, it's time to go.
Bye!
Being strong and powerful is wonderful, but you know what? There are some things even more wonderful. Things like imagination and intelligence. In today's story, it wasn't He-Man's muscle that saved us. It was more Adam's clever mind and quick thinking. Exercising so you can be as strong as possible is a good idea. But exercising your mind, like reading books and, doing your homework, that's also a very good idea. Think it over. Today, Orko nearly made a terrible mistake by not listening to that small voice in all of us that tells us right from wrong, our conscience. When Orko decided to impress Driel, he suspected that he might be doing something wrong. Whenever you're in doubt about what you should or shouldn't do, stop for a moment and listen to your conscience. It'll usually tell you what's right or wrong. But just in case you're still not sure, talk it over with your family or someone else who cares about you. See you soon.
You know, a big part of growing up is learning to respect other people's property. When Smudge lost all his money gambling, he gambled with someone else's property, and that's when things went from bad to worse. If you want to use something that belongs to someone else, ask their permission. Well, if you don't, you may get more than you bargained for. Right, Orko?
Well, right you are.
Today we learned that sometimes our responsibilities can seem too much to handle. When a job seems bigger than we are, it's easy to be discouraged, to give up. But sometimes if you try, really try, you can do it. When you come right down to it, there's only one thing others can expect of us, and that we can expect of ourselves, to do our best. See you next time.
In our story today, Squanch learned a valuable lesson. Squanch exaggerated and made up stories which caused people a lot of trouble. And later, when he needed people to believe him, they didn't. You know, Squanch made up stories to make people think that he was important. And what he learned was, we're all important. Every one of us. Goodbye for now.
You know, sometimes we think of people as being all good or all bad. Well, we shouldn't. Very few people are all bad. It may be hard to find, but if you look for it, chances are you'll find some good in most everyone.
And the best way to start is to never judge anyone by the way they look, but rather by what they do. Actions actions speak louder than words or appearances. It's something to reflect on. So long!
Do you know someone who uses drugs the way Jono used that flower? Drugs can be dangerous because of the effect they can have on the mind and body. The price one pays for the feeling a drug gives can be a loss of control, hurting someone you love, or something much worse. People often get sick playing with drugs. Some even die. Never take drugs from other people, even if a close friend says it's all right. Check with someone who really loves you. See you next time.
Today, Farron learned a valuable lesson about the difference between pretending and lying. Everyone likes to pretend, but when you start pretending like Farron did, that's lying. And sooner or later, lies have a way of catching up with you. Eventually, no one will believe you, even though you're telling the truth. So remember, tell the truth and be yourself.
Oh, good. Does that mean I don't have to be Battle Cat anymore?
No, Cringe, sorry. See you next time.
Today I want to talk to you about winning and losing. When Granomir had his fiery tug of war with another dragon, he won fair and square and stopped. He let go, because as soon as you take advantage of being a winner, you really lost. Remember, it's important to be a good loser, but sometimes it's just as important to know how to be a good winner. Winning is no excuse for bad manners. See you next time.
Have you ever wondered what it would be like if time did stand still? The flowers and the plants would never develop to their full potential. And neither would you. Time is important to everyone. Plants, animals, and you. As you grow, you learn. And as you learn, you change and develop. And that development is the thing that determines your future. So time is our friend. If we use our time wisely, we'll enjoy all the good things that life has to offer.
Today we discovered that getting what you want isn't always a good thing. When we like something, particularly something sweet, it's easy to want more and more. But nearly every time, if you have too much of something, no matter how much you want it, you'll find that it disagrees with you. So next time you see some candy, remember, you can have too much of a good thing.
Except me, of course. Right, Man-at-Arms?
We'll talk about it later. See you next time.
Well, Orko, did you learn a lesson?
I sure did. That sometimes fairy tales can come true.
My lesson was more difficult. With Tila's help, I learned to look past my ugliness, because the truth is that no matter how you look, you're only as ugly or as beautiful as the way you act.
A hard lesson for sure, but you learned it well.
Hi, kids. I wanted to talk to you for a moment about today's show. You saw me playing tricks on my enemies. All sorts of tricks. And it was pretty funny. But sometimes people try to play tricks on each other for fun. Well, it isn't. Lots of times a trick can scare our friends or even hurt them. So play it safe and leave the tricks to the pros like me.
Today's story was make-believe. You know that Earth was never really in any danger, but you can still learn something very important from today's adventure. Andrea and Colonel Blaze would never have accomplished their mission if He-Man and his friends had not joined together to help them. Helping others is a wonderful thing, and when you do, you're really also helping yourself. You see, for one thing, it makes you feel good. Who knows? The next time, you may be the one who needs the help. It's human nature to exaggerate.
And then He-Man put across a bridge to span the canyon. Why, it must have been 200 feet easy.
200? Why, that bridge was 400 feet if it was an inch.
I guess as long as there are people, some of them will exaggerate and others will believe them and spread rumors. It makes it hard to tell what is true and what is false.
The important thing is to use our common sense and not to believe everything we hear.
That's right. So, until next time.
Bye!
On their way to the Magic Falls, Adam and Orko discovered not only the secret of the gatekeeper, but an important lesson as well. In the gatekeeper's cavern, Adam was too far away to grab his sword, and Orko, without his magic, wasn't strong enough to pry it loose. But when they worked together, they combined their strengths and got the job done. You don't have to be the biggest or the strongest when you help one another.
Cooperation. It's almost as good as magic. Oops.
Sometimes better.
You may remember from our story how my foot slipped while I was climbing up the steep rocks. And when Philip looked over his shoulder while running from the Jolek, he fell into a pit of lumas. So when you're climbing, walking, or running, you should always be extra careful. Look where you're going so you don't slip and hurt yourself. Remember, it's not how fast you get there, it's getting there safely that counts. See you next time. It's too bad, but sometimes people think that doing the right thing is just too much trouble. When a friend is in trouble, there isn't time to wonder whether you should or shouldn't help. You just do it. And sometimes the one you help will turn around and help you. Remember, every time you help someone, the good comes back to you, sometimes in ways you don't even know about. But it does. Another thing, there's nothing in the world quite like the feeling that comes from knowing you've done something good for someone else. We'll see you next time.
We all like to give and receive presents, but if a stranger tries to give you gifts, say no thanks and tell your parents.
Gifts and toys from strangers are nothing to play around with.
You've learned an important lesson, Orko.
There's one more thing I won't forget.
What's that, Orko?
Next time someone asks me to keep a secret from He-Man and my friends, I'll know something's wrong.
You're right. Friends don't have to keep secrets from each other. Till next time.
In today's adventure story, our Velo was so anxious to help her father that she didn't care how she went about it. But she found out that doing something wrong really doesn't help solve anything. You know, from time to time we all have problems, but the way we try to solve them can make the difference between getting rid of them or making them even bigger. I hope you'll remember today's story, so that the next time something goes wrong for you, you'll work out the problem the right way, the honest way. Bye for now.
Some people think the only way to solve a difference is to fight. Skeletor, for example, his answer to every problem is fight. He doesn't care who's right or wrong. He thinks that might makes right. Well, it doesn't. He-Man knows that. Even with all his power, he always tries to avoid fighting. Fighting doesn't solve problems. Fighting only makes more problems. See you soon.
Have you ever had a job to do you thought was boring and unimportant? We all have. Opie did. But no job is unimportant. Opie learned that if he'd done the little jobs his father gave him, things would not have gone wrong. So remember, any job worth doing is worth doing well, no matter how dull it may seem at the time. Bye for now.
Today we learned about the value of trying, even when the odds are against you. Sometimes when people around us aren't playing by the rules or the job seems too big, it's easy to become discouraged. But that's when you really have to stick with it and keep trying, because that's how winners are born. So whether you're playing a game or doing your schoolwork, no matter how far behind you think you are, don't give up. Remember, you can't win if you don't try. See you next time.
Well, from now on, I'll be happy to look at the Eladons and Garks from outside the sanctuary.
It was just Skeletor's meddling that made those creatures angry.
And fortunately, Ricky had a solution that helped him learn a lesson.
Anything that's really worth doing takes a lot of hard work and study.
Maybe if you care about what you're doing, the work won't seem quite so hard.
Well, I guess I had to grow up a little before I understood that.
Well, growing up isn't easy, Ricky. Not for anyone.
Today we learned the importance of making the right decisions. When Cobra Khan lied about He-Man, King Pythos believed him at first because Cobra Khan was one of his people. But later he learned that trusting Cobra Khan was a big mistake. So when you have to make a decision about something, don't just jump at the first or the easiest answer. Think it through. Look at both sides and then decide. That way, whatever decisions you make will have a better chance of being the correct ones. See you next time. I want to talk to you today about safety. Accidents don't just happen to other people, they can happen to you. But you can do some things to help prevent accidents from happening. Using a safety belt when riding in a car can save your life or prevent you from being seriously hurt. Now, I know you've been told never to play with matches, because if you do, you're playing with fire. And fire can burn your toys, your home, your family, you. So use your common sense and think about what you're doing. It's better to be safe than sorry.